I'm out with my girls on the floor now. So come buy me a drink while she pour out. Ain't gotta tell me to slow down. When the weekend comes, it's a calm down. Hear my phone ring, ring, and it's shut down. So where we gon' go? Where we gon' go? Where we gon' go when the night's out?
Hello everyone, this is Angela and welcome to my channel, Angie the ENTJ. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and click on the notifications bell so that you'll know whenever I upload any new content. In today's video, I'm going to expand on something that Supreme from the West 4B movement asked me to explain while I was on her live earlier. I had suggested to her that whenever one of our opponents comes to the live and asks her to explain the basics about the 4B movement in Korea or the West 4B movement here in the US and so forth, that she should direct them to her website. The reason why I suggested it is because from my perspective, I know that they are scheming and are trying to be slick by tricking her into giving free labor without her even realizing it. It's a common trick that these misogynists, manosphere, you name it, any opponent likes to play. And what it does is, without realizing it, you're giving up talking points, and that's what they're wanting her to do by having her to go into detail and break down the West 4B movement as well as the Korean 4B movement. And why are they asking her directly when she took the time out to create a website and all of this is posted there, and they can take their own time in order to read it and acquaint themselves with the information? In more simpler terms, it's kind of like they are asking her for money so that they can turn around and buy a weapon to use against her in terms of sabotaging the efforts of the West 4B movement, if that makes sense. I went further to explain that they do not appreciate that she's invested time as far as basically knowing her ish from the time that she spent researching. And you can tell that Supreme is very well read, and also the fact that she's paid tuition, delayed gratification, just like anyone who's attended college. You know the routine. Probably had to drink coffee doing all-night study sessions in order to pass exams, however long ago that may have been for her. So if they want to know what she knows, they can also put forth the same efforts instead of viewing her as a resource to mine and to exploit. So at that point in time, Supreme asked me to elaborate on them being slick and doing what I observe as potentially like mining her like a resource, like someone digging in a gold mine for free labor without her realizing it. And like I said earlier, by the way, it's a tactic that I see on a lot of platforms where manosphere incels flood women's spaces, demanding for women to produce information and to disseminate it to them as well. And that's what I will get into at this time, because I don't think people in general, and especially women, realize the great extent to how their free time is being stolen and abused via uncompensated labor. So, okay, let's do a baseline. Empirical data truth here that we all can agree on. There are 24 hours in a day. And I'm just saying that so that we can all start out on the same page. Now, moving along, an ideal weekday, like for a person who's a working adult, would mean about 8 hours per day of work with 8 hours of sleep, which gives them 8 hours of free time, ideally, to their own selves. And of course, that's 8 plus 8 plus 8, that's the 24 hours, right? Many full-time jobs expect at least 8 hours a day. And that's labor that you're doing in order to pay the bills. And also, many doctors recommend 8 hours of sleep per day in order to remain healthy. So it's safe to say that this is 16 hours per day that cannot be compromised, because it will either affect your health or your finances. That also means, though, that you have 8 hours per day of free time Monday through Friday. So bit of math, 8 times 5 is 40 hours of free time, Ideally, emphasis on ideally, because I know some of you may be losing it as I speak because your reality is far different than the ideal. Trust me, I promise I will get there. So just stay with me for a bit. So far I've covered the weekdays, 8 hours a day for sleep, 8 hours a day for work, 8 hours a day ideally to yourself. Multiply that 8 hours per day ideally to yourself by 5, you get 40 from the weekdays. Now the weekend is a bit different. The mandatory 8 hours of sleep is still there ideally, but you don't have to go to work on Saturday and Sunday ideally. So that 8 hours that would normally be there for work during the weekday goes into the category of free time, So that gives you 8 hours a day that you don't have to work because it's Saturday or Sunday, plus 8 hours that represents your free time. So that's a total of 16 hours per day on the weekend of free time to yourself for a total of 32 hours. Now, a little more math to give a big picture. When I add the accumulation of free time from the weekdays of 40 hours, so the Monday through Friday, 8 hours per day of free time, right? That's the 40 hours. Now, when I add that to the accumulation of free time for the weekend, that's now 16 hours a day because you don't have to go to work. You only have to sleep 8 hours, and you already had 8 hours of free time. So 8 hours of not working plus 8 hours of free time, that's 16 hours per day, ideally. Times 2, that's 32 hours for your weekend. So the 32 hours from the weekend plus the 40 hours from accumulated from the weekday gives a total of 72 hours of free time that ideally is available for each person. Now, at this time, let's go into the reality, especially for the average American woman. As you can see, the average American woman is working 5.7 hours of uncompensated labor each day. She's cooking, cleaning, setting appointments, running errands, doing laundry, child rearing. And the child rearing is an umbrella term in and of itself with many specialized tasks, ranging from daycare to nannying to wet nursing to being a tutor, and also doing school runs and so forth. For many of us women, this is on top of earning an income at a job. And just for the record, the source of the 5.7 hours came from a CBS Money Watch article titled, "Women Do More Grunt Work at Home, No Matter Their Pay or Their Education." And listen, more often than not, the more educated the woman is and the higher her income, the more uncompensated labor she's performing. Because, for instance, think about it. If she's a doctor, a nurse, an attorney, or so forth, now the people are calling her up, asking her stuff that she can give advice on that may prevent them from having to do a doctor's visit because they're consulting her directly. Stuff like that. And like I said, now people around her are relying on the same expertise that the manosphere is discouraging women from obtaining. And that 5.7 hours per day is for 7 days a week, not just exclusively on weekdays or weekends only. No, this is on call 24/7, 5.7 hours per day, 7 days a week. So when we do the math and we multiply the 5.7 hours per day times 7 days a week on average, this adds up to being 39.9 hours per week that the average American woman is providing in uncompensated labor. Ladies and gentlemen and lurkers, essentially, the average American woman is working an entire second full-time job that does not come with any pay or benefits. Add to it that we only have about 2.3 hours to ourselves each weekday, and that's just barely enough to get ready to go to work or to take a shower or to go to bed and to start it all over again. And we're not even talking about, doing makeup doing hair, trying to keep up a professional appearance and all the stuff that goes into it. Just take your bath, put on your clothes, and go. That's barely enough for that. See, the reality is even more bleak for more American women, because what I just covered is like a general overall what's happening. But if we go a little bit further, there are an increasing number of American women working second jobs, and that means compromising sleep and therefore compromising health. Not only that, instead of enjoying the weekend, the average American woman, after doing all that work, is too busy recuperating from the week that's just passed. And to top it all off, to add insult to injury, we have a cacophony of people who are saying that this labor is, that's not a lot of work, or basically minimizing it to nothing. Yet it is this very uncompensated labor, which was valued in the U.S. to be about $200,000 a year on average per American woman, and globally to be more than $10.9 trillion within 2020 alone, 4 years ago. It is this very labor that is benefiting governments and corporations. That's why I'm cool with the women who have said, you know what, screw it. I'm over it. You can go figure it out on your own. I'm done. The only solution overall to this issue is for the government to provide more benefits to the citizens of the U.S. No different than government benefits are available to the citizens of Finland. And no, Finland is not a communist country, and I am not promoting communism or socialism. Okay, so in Finland, these citizens there have adequate shelter, they have generous paid parental leave for both mothers and fathers, as well as elder care services and so forth. These services are what will convert the average American woman from working a free second job with no benefits to being healthier, happier, and if she decides to work overtime, also wealthier, This is one of the many reasons why I support the hashtag West4B movement. This was also the reason why I was suggesting earlier to Supreme to direct the incels to her website as a way to prevent them from attempting to mine free labor out of her and exploit her, or anybody else for that matter. And this goes for any other woman or any one of our proponents whenever they encounter an opponent. What you can do is tell them that they can put forth the same effort in research and scholarship that you did in order to understand what it is that you know. Because part of their issue is that they are steeped in ignorance, and unless they take the effort to see the light of truth for themselves, all they're going to do is play a little game. They see you as a toy to mine resources out of, mine talking points, and then be like, no, that ain't true, even though the information you had just given them may have come from an expert in the field who created the field that you've given the advice from, someone on the likes of Noam Chomsky or something like that. Listen, let them figure that out on their own. I'm all for leaving them where they are, because listen, one or two things are going to happen. They will either become archaic like the Amish, and I say that very respectfully. I know that the Amish have their principles that they live by, and what I just said wasn't to look down on them, but just to use them as an example, because there was a point in time when the Amish were using the same technology as everybody else, and they were considered modern at their times, but they decided to stay where they are for their own reasons, which I respect. However, that still makes them archaic, and that's fine. But see, these Pookies and Ray Rays and these Pygmies, they don't want to be archaic. They want to be modern, but they don't want to put forth the effort that the rest of us did in order to keep up. So they're either going to become archaic like the Amish, and I say that respectfully again, or they're going to go extinct because don't nobody want to interact with them. They're violent, they're argumentative, and all that kind of stuff. that's why also in that particular live, I said, earlier today, that they're going to be over here trying to blend in like that Pookie who had aimed a a blaster, okay, a G to the U to the N, okay, at a Chipotle employee in Detroit because they were arguing over guacamole. Listen, since when did the likes of Pookie wanted to eat healthy? I mean, yes, this is a free country, and I know that there are a handful of genuine people who have just recently seen the light and hightailed it out of Blackistan or its equivalencies in other communities. So what I'm about to say, I'm not aiming it. If that's you, I'm not aiming my heat at you. I'm aiming it at these thugs and these pygmies. See, Pookie did not want anything to do with the so-called bougie stuff that we've been over here doing for decades. Pookie, Ray Ray, and their pygmies, they made fun of us. They said that we were trying to be white. Remember that? Ooh, you trying to be white. Yeah, I'm calling y'all out. You say little mean, nasty stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with being white. You understand? Shout out to my white folks. There's nothing wrong. But when they say it, they're stigmatizing it, meaning that you're forgetting your culture and that you are aligning yourself with a person who had a colonizer mindset. And so that's what you're trying to become. That's what they mean when they say it. Even though if you want to talk about who's aligned with a colonizer, it's them more so than we'll ever be. Just putting it out there. So yeah, I'm calling him out. And you know that he was up in that dang on Chipotle's. Well, most of them got a swollen liver, yellow jaundice in their eyes, dark fingernail beds because they've been over consuming alcohol and smoking Black and Milds and other stuff, eating junk food, all up in there mispronouncing stuff. Because you know how Chipotle's go. Listen, we've been going to Chipotle. Hey, I want my burrito bowl. Okay, I want the brown rice. I want to get the whatever type of protein. Pick one. Most people that go to Chipotle within 5 minutes their stuff is done. But can you imagine that Pookie up in there? All up in there mispronouncing stuff, holding up the line, asking questions about stuff that's been standard for years, like, how come y'all charge extra for the guacamole? Man, they been doing that. You knew. You're new in this space. You don't even know how to act when you're new to a situation. You don't step on toes. You go with the flow. You kind of see how everybody. No. They get up in there and want to fight. And he didn't say it right either. He probably said something like, I want some of that guacamole. What's guacamole? When it's guacamole. Asking stuff like, what's a quesadilla? When it's pronounced quesadilla. Or a tortilla? When it's a tortilla. And see, here's the thing. Again, the issue is not with his inability to pronounce things properly. You see, I'm from down south and I've mispronounced some stuff very easily. And I've seen people from different places do the same thing. See, that's not the issue. The issue is that this Pookie all of a sudden is gaining an interest in the very things about us that he and his pygmies would look down upon. And as usual, he can't stand it when things don't go his way. And he went up in there and blasted that Chipotle's employee with his pew over some dang on guacamole. That's some of the most ignorantness stuff I've ever. Anyway, just ignorant. And yeah, see, I know I'm talking about Pookie, but listen here, you pygmies. I see more and more y'all shopping at Target too. Didn't you like City Trends and Walmart and Rainbow? Ain't nothing wrong with Rainbow and City Trends. I ain't saying ain't nothing wrong with it. I've gone up in Rainbow a time or two myself. But listen, what you doing over at Target now all of a sudden? Y'all ain't about to sabotage this hashtag West 4B movement. You ain't gonna blend in over here. We're calling you out. We see you. Okay? You're not about to derail this movement, because I know your next moves, and I also know where all the bones are buried. Try me. So I'm going to end it here because I wanted to keep this video short. Thank you for watching, and please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and click on the notifications bell so that you'll know whenever I upload any new content. Take care until next time.